Hello everyone, welcome back to another SATs preparation video. We're taking a look today at the GPS paper and more specifically, word classes. Now, what are word classes? Well, they're these things you see on the screen right here. Nouns, verbs, adjectives. They're the name we give to different types of words based on what they do. For example, a noun, a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. That's a noun. A table, that's a noun. The sky, that's a noun. Happiness, that's a noun, because even though we can't pick it up, it's an abstract noun. It's a thing that we imagine, an idea, happiness. So all of these are word classes. Now, what this video is not going to do is intricately, in huge detail, tell you what every single one of these mean. Obviously, I'm going to cover them. So if you're not sure on a few, it's fine. This video is still for you because I'll tell you what they mean during the lesson. But this video is more about looking at past papers and seeing exactly how they're going to ask you questions to do with word class and what you have to do to get a mark. So let's take a look without further ado. The first type of question are circling questions. For example, here we have one that says, circle the 4 nouns in the sentence below. First thing to notice is, yep, okay, you've got to circle them. That's obviously going to be important. But the other thing is to look for a number or a hint. In this case, we're told exactly how many to look for. We need 4 nouns in this sentence. So let me demonstrate how we do this. We're going to go through, and when we know for certain that a word's a noun, we're going to circle it and see what we end up with at the end. The strength of the wind, the wind, okay, wind is definitely a thing. I know I can't pick wind up, but it is a thing, it's a noun. Made the trees, they're definitely things, so I'm on 2, that's good. In the forest, again, that's definitely a thing. Sway, that's an action, that's a verb. And bend, oh, that's a verb. So if I look back at the question now, it says 4 nouns. So here's my first top tip. If it says 4, you've only got 3, you know something's missing, at least 1, okay? If you've got all 3 correct, there is 1 missing somewhere. So you go back to the start and you think, okay, for nouns, what makes nouns trickier? Abstract nouns, like I said earlier. Nouns that aren't really a thing we can pick up and hold, like this phone, for example. Well, have you found it yet? Because there is another noun in here. It's strength. And a good hint for when you see a noun is what comes before it. In this case, the is a determiner. We'll get onto them later. But that's a nice hint that we've got a noun in front as well. So this question, although you might think to yourself, well, nouns, the most simple word class we learned very early in school. True. But here is how the GPS paper can still make it tricky. So sticking with the circling questions then, I want you to have a go at this one. Circle all of the adjectives in the sentence below. Now, adjective, one we use for a long time. It describes a noun. It describes a thing, okay? It's a descriptive word. Have a go. Can you find it? Or am I wrong in saying, can you find it? We'll see what I mean in a second. Have a go. So here's the key thing in this type of question. You see adjective, it's in bold, your eyes go straight to it. You go, cool, okay, adjective. And unfortunately, the weather was terrible. Yes, terrible. I'm describing the adjective. The answer's terrible. Move on, and we get a mark. Wrong, you won't get a mark because look, although it's not a number this time, it says all the adjectives. So it's very likely we've got more than one. So we need to go back with a fine comb and make sure we find all of the describing words. Unfortunately, the weather was terrible. Now, terrible describes the weather, so that's fine. Cold and wet. Well, look, cold is obviously describing the weather, and wet is obviously describing the weather as well. So these have 3 adjectives in this one sentence. If you get a vague description like all, you need to be really careful that you've definitely considered every single word. So now it's your turn again. This time it's adverbs, but we're back to knowing that there are definitely only 3. If you're stuck on which ones are adverbs, well, if you know what a noun is, it's not going to be that one. If you know what an adjective is, it's not going to be those ones, so you can start getting rid of ones. I want you to have a go at this one yourself. I'll show you where all 3 are. Do you know adverbs well? Now, I love questions for adverbs on these papers because they are tricky. Now, if we go straight to this word here, clearly, this one is probably the most obvious adverb in this entire sentence. Why? Well, because it ends in ly. And we're used to thinking, well, adverbs usually end in ly. It's how you do something. Adverbs add description to a verb, but they can also add description to nouns and adjectives as well. So don't be tricked by just thinking it has to be the verb. Anyway, the thing to remember is for adverbs is to think how or when. They are usually good ways to describe what an adverb does. It tells us how something happened or when something happened. So let's take another look through this sentence, see if we can spot them. You might be able to see them. There are 2 more. Because that's a conjunction, we'll come on to those. It was raining hard. Well, here's the key. Look for the verbs. Raining is a verb. It's something that's happening. So raining hard, hard is adding information to the verb. So hard is an adverb. Then we keep going. The driver was unable to see clearly. We know that clearly is adding to the verb to see. And almost crashed his shiny new car. Aha, crashed is a verb. So what word is adding to this verb that we can see in this sentence? Almost. Almost is an adverb in this sentence because it's modifying this verb. It didn't actually crash, almost crashed. That's the key thing to look for adverbs. Words that are modifying a verb in some way. Don't just look for those pesky ly words. They're going to help, but it's not always going to get as a mark. Not at all. Sticking with the circling then, like I said, we're going to go through as many word classes as we can. Circle the 3 determiners. Now, if you don't know what a determiner is, you're going to treat this like it was a real test. You're just going to have a go. Don't circle the nouns, don't circle the adjectives, don't circle the verbs, don't circle the adverbs, don't circle the conjunctions. Even if you don't know what a determiner is, you can still get rid of words you think are a different word class. Have a go. There are 3. Now, again, if you were doing this, you look through the. I'm not sure what to call it. I'm going to leave it for now. Black is an adjective. Kitten is a noun. Licked is a verb. Pause are a noun. And is a conjunction. Curled is a verb. Itself is actually a pronoun. Up is a preposition. And if you're not sure what that is, you might leave up blank, but I'm going to cross it out. Into, is that a preposition? Yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure. Tight ball. I'm not too sure what's going to go on. Tight is definitely going to be a descriptive word. And ball, yeah, that's not going to work either. So I've crossed all of these out. Okay. Well, that doesn't leave me with very many words at all, does it? So let's go through and check them. That's a determiner. And I'm going to tell you now what a determiner does. A determiner goes before a noun to make sure we know exactly, in other words, to determine what the noun is. The black cat. Not any old black cat, the black kitten. So the is the word going before the noun, in this case a determiner. Its paws. Well, the paws belong to the cat. This is determining who the paws belong to. We're not just saying licked their paws. We're not saying licked some paws. We're not saying licked 7 paws. We're saying its paws. So this is, again, modifying the noun to tell you exactly which noun it is. That's a determiner. And then down here, a tight ball. That's determining what the tight ball is. It goes before a noun, or in this case, a noun phrase. Tight ball with an adjective. But looking for that noun is always going to help us with determiners. So if you're ever trying to find determiners, spot where the nouns are in the sentence and then look before it. A, the, its in this case. Something people tend to forget, the word several could be a determiner because it's determining how many. Even the word 6, any number at all. If you say, I have 7 cats, 7 would be a determiner because it's before the word cats and it's determining how many. So determiners determine how many or what exact noun you are looking for. They're all 3. And another circling question, of course, this time preposition. The hint is the word position inside. That's the only help I'm giving you. Can you find the preposition in each sentence? Okay, preposition telling us about the position of something. The bird flew above the trees. It's where. The children sang many songs in their concert. Honestly, I think prepositions are one of the easiest ones to learn simply because, number 1, there's a big hint inside the word. Number 2, just whichever words tell us where something's happening. Quite simple. Oh, now we're on to conjunctions. I've left this to the end for a reason of our kind of medley through the circling questions. There are more types of questions coming up, so make sure you pay attention. They get harder and harder towards the end. Circle all the conjunctions in a sentence below. Now, the important thing with a conjunction is we're kind of taught conjunctions join together 2 clauses like this. They go in the middle of a sentence. Just remember, conjunctions can go at the start of a sentence if we have a comma and the sentence continues after, just like that. So just be aware. For example here, when is a conjunction. When my brother visits, comma. So that's part of a clause there. We'll talk about which clause later on, don't you worry. We always go to the park so that we can play cricket. Now what's happening here is, see these 2 examples I told you, one where the conjunction's in the middle between 2 clauses and one where it's at the start. We've actually got one of each in this sentence, haven't we? When my brother visits, comma, we always go to the park. We could have put a full stop here, but instead we replaced it with a different type of conjunction, the word so that we can play cricket to continue and give more information. So we've got two conjunctions in this sentence, one at the start and one at the middle, in the middle of two clauses. Fantastic. This is where we're going into more detail, like I just said. We've still got the word conjunction. Circle the subordinating conjunction in the sentence below. And let's imagine for a second you didn't know what subordinating meant. And you're looking at the sentence and you think, well, since is a conjunction. We can play around as or. Oh, or is a conjunction. So which one am I going to go for? Well, this is where the word subordinating comes in. A subordinating conjunction goes in front of at the front of a subordinating clause. It's a clause that does not make sense on its own. It's a clause that is dependent on the other one. So if we take a look right here, I saw a wobub. It's going to help you to remember what the subordinating conjunctions are. So of course we could think, okay, it needs to make sense on its own. And then it's going to lead into a clause that doesn't make sense on its own. And that subordinating conjunction will help lead into that clause that doesn't make any sense on its own and is dependent on the other one. Well, furthermore, we could just remember this little mnemonic. I saw a wobub. And S goes to since, we can see here. So I know since, I just simply know now this is a coordinating conjunction. It's not going to be or. That does not work. So two ways to approach these questions, guys. Learn your subordinating conjunctions, or learn the intricacies around it. As a teacher, I'd like you to learn the intricacies and the rules, and you should be looking at this and saying, since it is sunny today, this is completely dependent on this main clause here. We can play rounders or cricket. Okay, that's how we should know it's a subordinating conjunction. We can just learn this chart as well. Do you know what I would do? Both. Next one. Oh, we still got a conjunction. Circle the coordinating conjunction. Well, what's a coordinating conjunction? Well, if a subordinating conjunction starts off a clause that is dependent on the other one and doesn't make sense on its own, a coordinating conjunction does the opposite. I'm going to give you a hint now before you pause this video and have a go yourself. There is only one coordinating conjunction in here. Can you find it? A coordinating conjunction joins together two clauses of equal importance that stand alone. Can you have a go? See what you can do, and I'll show you the new list after. Okay, again, if you did not know what coordinating meant, you would look through this and see, although our team was less experienced than the others and nobody expected us to do well, we won the tournament because we had practiced regularly. So we're stuck here. We've got three conjunctions. Here it says circle the coordinating conjunction. That is just one. Only one of these out of three is a conjunction. Is a coordinating conjunction. We've just seen the subordinating ones. You may remember some of them. And you may notice that two of these are actually subordinating conjunctions. Well, which one is a coordinating? If you put and, you absolutely got the mark. And here are some coordinating conjunctions. The way to remember coordinating conjunctions is fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Two clauses that have equal importance, and the coordinating conjunction, quite simply, goes in the middle. In this case, it's and, because is a subordinating, and although is a subordinating, because it starts off a subordinating clause. Simple as that. If you're not sure about main clauses and subordinating clauses, let us know in the comments, because we'll make a whole video on it to help you guys out. So, last few here with circling, we're going to move on to a different type. But I wanted to cover all the different word types just to give you a little hint. Circle the possessive pronoun in the sentence below. Now, a pronoun is a word we use to replace a noun to stop saying over and over again. I wouldn't say Hayden got to his computer and Hayden sat down and then Hayden typed some things and Hayden took his mouse. I'd replace it with he. So pronouns replace a noun, but which pronoun is possessive, shows that something belongs to someone. Which one would you go for? If you said she, you'd be wrong. You found a pronoun, so well done. It is a pronoun. She has replaced a name in this sentence, but it's not possessive. This doesn't show that she belongs to someone or she owns something. It doesn't work. The word is actually hers. The other trick in this sentence is the fact there's an apostrophe for possession. The pencil belongs to Zach, but Zach is just a noun. It's not a pronoun. So really, lots of traps here before we actually find the answer. Because hers, well, her what? Her pencil. That's what this sentence means. This word means in the sentence. So it's all about finding the context. This directly tells us that she owns the pencil, and we're talking about her pencil that she possesses. That's why it's a possessive pronoun. Hopefully that makes sense. Circle the relative pronoun in each sentence below. We are really steaming along here with the word classes. What's a relative pronoun? Well, I've already told you about a pronoun. What does a relative pronoun do? Well, I'm going to start off by telling you the first sentence. A large collection of gold and silver, which is known as the Staffordshire Hoard, was discovered in 2009. In this sentence, which is the relative pronoun. Now, if you've done this practicing with your writing, perhaps, and how to put relative pronouns in your writing, you'll notice relative pronouns often go in the middle of parentheses like this, and they start it off. And the reason it's a relative pronoun is because this is a pronoun for the large collection of gold and silver. We're referencing what we've just talked about. Instead of saying a large collection of gold and silver, the gold and silver which is known, that would sound ridiculous. So it's relative because it's related to what we've just spoken about directly, and we're going to add some extra information in. So knowing this in the first sentence, what do you think the relative pronoun is in the second sentence? I'm not even going to press the pause thing because I bet you're shouting at me already. It's who. We can tell this because the comma does help us, but also who is relating to Mr. Herbert. Mr. Herbert made the discovery during... No, it wouldn't make any sense to repeat the name. So this is a pronoun directly linking back to something we just mentioned at the start of a set of parentheses like we can see here. Now, where's the trick? Of course, there's always a trick. You're only going to get 1 mark for getting all 3 here. So far, you've got no marks. Where's the relative pronoun? At the bottom. There's no commas. Well, there is one special relative pronoun. Do you know which one it is? Are you shouting at the screen at me? It's the word that. We don't need to use commas when we use that. Some of the artifacts that. This is directly linking to some of the artifacts straight away. It would be absolute nonsense to repeat that. It wouldn't make any sense as a sentence. But we are directly referencing, and it's directly related to the artifacts. That's what we're talking about in this sentence, okay? So the word that, the word who, the word which, the word where as well, and a few others can be used as relative pronouns. There they are. But they're the types of questions where we have to circle. Now we're going to move on to the types of questions where we are ticking. And again, the key here, guys, read it really carefully. Tick 1. The amount of times I've marked SATs papers and it says tick 1 and I see 4 ticks or 3 ticks. Or even crosses. Crosses, you know, if you think it's an adjective, you don't have to cross the other ones. Just leave it. Just tick. So what word class is the underlying words? Now we're trying to identify them. Instead of being told, find the adjective, find the verb, we've got to have all of the word classes and what they mean in our head ready. What are the underlying words here? Have a go. And which box would you tick? Brian is older and Stanley is younger. These words are directly linked to the noun, Brian, and the noun, Stanley. We are describing the noun, and that is the most simple description of adjectives. So well done if you found that. What are the word classes of the 2 underlined words in the sentence below? This is, again, just ticking 1, but I've put this in to show you how the GPS paper can not trick you, but make you do more than one thing for 1 simple mark. You firstly got to identify this one. Is it a noun or an adjective? And then this one, is it an adjective or a verb? Once you know them both, you can tick the box. Have a go. So again, in this sentence, guys, force is a noun and erosive is describing the noun. We've spoken about how that's an adjective. Just going to cross out noun on both. So it's either now an adjective and a verb or an adjective and an adverb. Let's keep going. Of the sea erodes the coastline. This is an action. If you erode the coastline, it's the water constantly hitting the coastline and chipping it back over many, many years. This is a verb. This is an action. So it's an adjective and a verb. Tick. Adverb would have to be describing or modifying the verb. That's not what's happening here. So you just give it a tick, you move on. And remember, you can do all of this kind of writing I've done here. That's completely allowed. In a test, you can write wherever you want, as long as it's really clear which one you've ticked at the end. That's vital. In which sentence is plant a verb? Now, again, this is ticking, but I've put this in for a reason, because there are a lot of words out there in the English language where, depending on how they're used in a sentence, can actually change what word class they are. The word plant can be a noun, like a garden plant. It can be a verb, to plant something. Now, here we have 4 sentences. Only in one of them, because it says tick 1, is plant used as an action, a verb, and not a noun. Can you find it before the timer runs out? The recycling plant was closed. Well, that's a place, isn't it? So this is obviously a noun. Can't tick that one. The children plant beans in the school garden. That's something they do. I'm pretty sure that's a verb. I'm going to tick it. But you know what? I'm going to check just to make sure. I remember to water my plant. Well, I could draw that. It's like a flower. There's my lovely flower. I'm not an artist, guys, as you can tell, but that's a noun. The roses were growing in a plant pot. Now that is part of a noun there. It's not used as a verb, okay? And if we're ever unsure, we think, oh, is that a verb? A plant pot? Are we talking how we're planting the pot? Maybe no, but even if you're not sure, look, which sentence? There's just one, and we're way more sure about this one. So if you ever find yourself stuck there, go for the one you think is more obvious. In this case, it's this one. The children plant beans. That is an action for sure, 100%. What does the word them refer to in the sentence below? Now, this is like going further and further into word classes, as far as I could go to be abstract, because we're not actually asked here at all what a word class is. This is a pronoun, by the way. Okay, so them. In them. What this has done is replace one of these words, right? So although deserts are very dry, a rich variety of plants and animals can survive in them. But what noun has them replaced? Has it replaced deserts, variety, plants, and animals? Have a go and I'll tell you a nice trick to do after to solve it. The best way to do this is to replace each word with them and see what works. You might know straight away that it's deserts, let's be honest. Although deserts are very dry, we're talking about deserts here, a rich variety of plants and animals can survive in variety. No. A rich variety of plants and animals can survive in plants. No. A rich variety of plants and animals can survive in animals. No. So even if you didn't know, just swap them in and look, it's an easy mark. This is a free mark in my opinion. Very easy. Here's another type of question. So we looked at circling questions to do with word classes, ticking boxes to do with word classes. This is still ticking boxes, I suppose, but it's in the form of a table. Now, these are very common when it comes to the SATs papers. Tick one box. I'm keeping an eye out for numbers. Just one box in each row. A row goes side to side. So in this case, this is a row. Okay, so only tick one of them. It's either going to be a verb, a noun, or an adjective. To show whether the underlined word is that, a verb, a noun, or an adjective. So we need to know what a verb means, a noun means, an adjective means. One of them, these are the three main ones, let's be honest. A verb is an action word. A noun is a person, a place, or a thing. An adjective describes a noun. Simple as that. Let's take a look. There are many magnetic materials. Well, in this sentence, materials is the noun. It's always good to start with that. So it can't be noun. Magnetic is describing the materials. So it's an adjective. Simple as that. Try the next two. See if you can get them. You'll notice they're all linked to the root word magnet. And it just shows how a root word can have different suffixes, prefixes, and meanings to be different word classes as well. Magnets attract some metals. These are things. So they are nouns. We can magnetize the nail. In this case, nail is the noun. We can magnetize is what we're doing to the nail. So that's a verb. It's an action, which means we tick right there. You need all three to get a mark. So you've got to have good knowledge of all of them. Here's like a harder version where instead of having the three main ones, we have adverbs and conjunctions. And here's where children get stuck. Tick one box in each row to show whether once is an adverb or a conjunction. You might be looking at it thinking, I didn't know that could be an adverb. I've never used it as a conjunction. Well, here's the thing. You now know what an adverb is. It modifies something in a sentence. It gives you extra information about it, how or when perhaps. A conjunction is going to be joining clauses together. Okay, so do you know how to answer this question? Have a go and I'll go through them after. See what you get. Okay, I have only been to France once with my family. In this case, the word once is adding information of how many times we've been to France. So it's an adverb. It's modifying the word been. I've only been to France with my family. I've only been to France once with my family. It's an adverb. Once I arrived in Paris, comma, I tried to speak French. I tried to speak French is a main clause. Once I arrived in Paris, that's a conjunction. It's adding on extra information. Tick it right there. And remember what I said earlier, conjunctions can come at the start of a sentence. So don't be put off by that. My accent really improved once we had been there a few days. Now this is the trickiest one on the entire paper because you could say my accent really improved once when I was 10. You're saying how many times, right? So it would be an adverb, right? But this isn't an adverb. My accent really improved could be a main clause there that works on its own. Once we had been there for a few days. This is a whole new clause on the end being joined together by a conjunction. My accent really improved once we had been there a few days. My accent really improved once I'd put some effort into trying. My accent really improved once ages ago. That's not what that's doing here. It's not an adverb in this case. It's a conjunction joining clauses together. Really tricky, but nevertheless, I wanted to move on to the last type of question. Circling, ticking, tables. Now we have questions where we have to physically write in ourselves with good handwriting and, remember, top spelling. If we don't get spelling correct with capital letters, we don't get the mark. This is a GPS paper. Replace the underlined words in the passage below with the correct pronouns. Write one pronoun in each box. Maggie and Helena wanted to visit the museum. Maggie and Helena tried to, well, we know here, don't we? Pronouns are going to replace nouns, so we don't keep repeating them. Maggie and Helena wanted to visit the museum. Tried to go after. What would we say? In this case, yeah, it would be they. Now, what do you notice about how I'm putting down the word they? Two things. I'm not joining up my letters. This is not a handwriting test. But if you spell it wrong, you won't get the mark. So separate your letters so it's really clear. Second thing, it's got a capital letter. Why? Well, if I'm going to replace this here, it's the start of a sentence. We have a full stop here. You must show you understand the rules of grammar, punctuation, and spelling. That includes the rules for capital letters. So even though this is about word classes, you still need to show everything else as well. Capital T for they. Stop there, you get 0. Why? Because you need to get both for the mark. Tried to go after school, but was closed. We've already referenced the museum, so you don't need to say the museum again. What could we swap in? Well, the word is it, because it's just an object, just a thing, just a place. Okay, so let's read it through to check. Maggie and Helena wanted to visit the museum. They tried to go after school, but it was closed. It works perfectly. Fantastic. You're going to get a mark. So how about this one? Subordinating conjunction. Do you remember the different types of subordinating conjunctions we can have? I'm just going to say one word. Well, it's not even a word. I saw a wobub. Maybe that will help you. Can you think of a word that we put in that gap? Have a go. Okay, do you remember? I'm not going to go back. Well, even if you don't remember, you could think what words make sense. Football is his favourite sport. James also enjoys watching tennis. The one that I think of straight away is although. There are a few that might work. Maybe you could let me know in the comments down below which ones you think could also work. But although is correct. And do you know how I'm going to get the mark for sure? Capital letter, because it's the start of a sentence. And I've spelled it correctly. That is really important, guys. If you don't know how to spell your conjunctions or your relative pronouns or anything like that, you need to learn how to do it, because you might lose a mark sillily because of it. That leads me to the last thing. It's your turn. You're going to let us know in the comments below. Number 1, give it a like. Number 2, subscribe, because we've got more coming. Number 3, leave us a comment to tell us if you want us to cover anything in the future. Maybe something from this video in more detail or something completely different. The reason this video exists is because someone else asked for it in a video, so maybe you could get what you want. And finally, any answers to this question. You need 3 adverbs. I'm going to leave it there, guys. See you in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you next time.